Living in Virginia, you're in the fast lane on the information superhighway. We've invested $3 billion in Virginia's broadband network to give you one of the fastest internet connection speeds in the world, so you can build relationships, bring new business to our state, and meet the future of education. It's amazing what we can do together. Visit VCTA.com to learn how broadband connects the Commonwealth.
From the General Assembly and the City of Richmond, I'm Woody Evans for Cable Reports, brought to you by the Virginia Cable Telecommunications Association and Comcast, connecting Virginians to their government. We're really pleased to have two members from Southside Virginia. Delegate Danny Marshall, good to see you, sir.
Woody, it's always a pleasure here, and I like your new digs here. You know, for the people back home, we are in a new building, and we got a new studio, and you got, it looks like 3 times the square feet that you had in the past. So,
it helps, yeah. It helps. We need it for Senator Bill Stanley. Good to see you, sir.
Great to see you. Welcome to Martinsville, but you still have the same old desk. We're going to have an upgrade.
Oh, we do. Please, just appropriate the monies when you get the chance.
No, that's not going to happen.
So you still chair local government, correct?
I am.
And you still chair agriculture, correct?
It's agriculture, Chesapeake, and natural resources.
All right.
Yes.
Don't forget that.
Yeah.
Lots of changes in the House of Delegates. You have 15 new Democratic members and I believe 3 or 4 new Republican members.
It is, and so there's a lot of changes that's happened. This year alone, we have those new members that came in, mostly from Northern Virginia. We have one from over in Blacksburg area, but right. Northern Virginia, Richmond, Tidewater. We have a new Speaker of the House. We have a new building that we're in. We have new offices that we're in. We have the same furniture, so we're saving money. We're doing things such as recorded votes in subcommittees, so the citizens back home will be able to see that. The committee meetings are being televised now, so it's a lot of going on, a lot of changes.
Not very many changes in your body, though, correct?
No, we were at 2119 last year. We're still at 2119. The Republicans have held that slim majority for over 5 years. I'm the majority whip in that body.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'd offered my good friend Danny that if he needs some crisis counseling to learn how to deal with smaller majorities, that I was willing to help, that we're kind of accustomed to that. But, we've always kind of functioned under that 2119 one way or the other. So we've never had large majorities in the Senate. I don't think we ever will. And so it's a different way to operate. I'm sure they're getting their feet underneath them to be able to do that. But ultimately, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, conservative or liberal, we have 60 days to do the people's business. That's the great thing about this government, is that we're not full-time like they are in Washington, D.C., where they kind of lounge around for a lot of time, don't do much. We come in, we consider thousands of bills. We have a requirement of a balanced budget. We really work hard, 15, 16, 17-hour days, considering legislation in committees. And in the end, we leave here about March. We have a balanced budget. We have good laws that are going to the governor's desk, and we stop spending your money. And we go back into our communities where we earn livings, and that way I think it keeps a connection. A part-time legislature with part-time legislators keeps that connection with the places that they serve.
And of course, because of that lack of accountability, if you will, in Washington, D.C., we had, a weekend of a government shutdown. We have a continuing resolution that's going to last until February 8th. Those things have a huge impact on the economy of Virginia, do they not?
They do. That's no way to govern, and we certainly don't do it that way. But I can tell you this. The problem that we saw is that Virginia shudders to think that the government would shut down because we're so financially dependent on the federal government. That goes right to the core of regionalist views, where Northern Virginia and Hampton Roads are dependent on the military-industrial complex, the military itself. There's so many federal workers that if you have those furloughs, those layoffs, the government shutdown in any length of time, it has a real significant effect on the economy here in Virginia and our ability to run the government. So we need to, this is another reminder, I think, especially where we come from, that we need in Virginia and the Commonwealth to diversify our economy, to not be so dependent on federal dollars, whether it's because of the industries that are here, but more importantly, taking those federal dollars, and that's even in Medicaid expansion. That to us demonstrates, I think, why even Medicaid expansion, which is a big topic this year, is probably unwise, just because you can't count on a government that's printing money that's $22 trillion in debt to be one of your mainstays of income or revenue generated to operate our state government.
Talk to us about jobs in Southside.
Well, jobs is always important. Both of us have worked hard for that. The whole delegation, Poindexter and Adams, we all work on that. Senator Stanley and I serve on Tobacco Commission. And Tobacco Commission, we're blessed to have that resource that we can use to help kind of prime the pump to encourage companies to come to our area. 17 was a good year. I mean, we didn't hit any home runs. We got a lot of base hits. And so, 20 jobs here or companies adding on to jobs. And so that was good. But workforce development is one of the things that is really important. And I was glad to see that the new governor, Governor Northern, has appointed at a cabinet level position a person that is coming to see me in sometime this week or early next week. She was a professor at Patrick Henry Community College and then also Danville Community College. So she understands Southside problems, and hopefully that I'm going to try to bend her ear and tell us some of the things that we're doing and some of the things that we need help on. Because what we have seen, time and time again, companies are attracted if they know that they can get a qualified workforce, then they will locate. Everybody's got land, everybody's got the infrastructure. You got to have that to even play the game, but that workforce development is critical.
And where does that workforce development take place?
Workforce development takes place really at the education centers that we have, whether it be the community colleges. Danville Community College is one, Patrick Henry Community College, but also New College Institute, New College of Virginia. Danny and I serve on the board of directors there. I'm the chairman currently. What we've done there is try to revamp and retool our mission to provide an education in 4 disciplines that we know the industries want to have. That's engineering, cybersecurity, education, and health. We want to be able to grow our teachers right there organically, so we have a good stable of qualified, quality teachers teaching our children in Martinsville, Henry County area. We want to make sure that in the healthcare system that we're producing for our hospitals, good workers that can provide high quality health care, because a lot of times in rural areas and underserved areas that we live in, we don't have access to quality care. So we want to be a part of that. Cyber, those that are getting 4-year cyber degrees are coming out with $70,000, $80,000 starting jobs. And there are over 37,000, I think, job openings in the next 5 years in Virginia. We want to make sure our students in Southside Virginia have those first opportunities, because if we can get one of those students who may be at or below the poverty level, but is interested in the STEM disciplines, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, we can educate them at a rate that's lower than anywhere a traditional education can be had for a college degree. And then we can get them a $100,000 job as an engineer in cyber. And then we've broken the cycle of poverty for not just that child, but for the family. We think we can lead the new economic revitalization of Southside Virginia by using education as the tool. And that's where workforce comes in, whether it's credentialed training or whether it's a college degree. We've got now an agreement with James Madison University to provide 4-year degrees in engineering and cyber and computer technologies. We're going to focus around those areas to make sure that we're educating the best and the brightest with an experiential learning model, which involves corporations coming in and actually educating our children, educating our students, at the same time they're giving them a job, so that when they walk out, they're job ready, they have that experience. So we think that's where workforce training starts. Our community colleges are on the cutting edge. The credential programs that we have, and especially the scholarship program that we have that Frank Ruff, the senator, and you all proposed last year that's going in effect, are educating people maybe that don't want college degrees,
right,
but are giving them skills now that are giving them great paying jobs. And we've seen the results in Southside, and we think that's the way to go.
Let me follow up on cybersecurity. One of the things that people have asked me, well, if we get these cybersecurity degrees, we're going to have to leave the area. They don't have to leave the area, because one of the things that the Tobacco Commission did, over a decade ago, started a company called Mid-Atlantic Broadband. It's based in South Boston. And what Mid-Atlantic Broadband does for the viewers back home is they built a infrastructure of fiber, and so the fiber doesn't go to the home. It's called First Mile, and it goes along major routes, 58, 220, etc. And then different companies will attach to that and provide fiber to the home or to the business. So those companies, if they see that there is like Senator Stanley was talking about, that these young people will be able to get those degrees in cyber, then they will start locating businesses in our area. The other thing that Mid-Atlantic Broadband is doing, which is pretty daggone revolutionary, is that if you go east of Clarksville at Boynton, you'll see on the left-hand side, it's almost camouflage. It's where the cloud is located. Okay. Microsoft has a building, a huge facility there, and so that's where they house the cloud. But Microsoft is running a fiber cable from Spain to Virginia Beach, and Mid-Atlantic Broadband in South Boston is going to manage that. And so we'll have a direct line from our whole area to Spain to start with, and then they're going to run one to Brazil and then one to South Africa. And so those jobs, those cybersecurity jobs, those 60,000, 80,000, 90,000 starting pay can be in our region, and it would transform us. So our pay levels would go up, our quality of life would go up. So, but again, you got to have those skills.
It's taken a long time because your area has suffered from the textile industry moving out, tobacco, furniture. It takes a long time to get back in terms of the economy.
It does, but I think it's the resiliency of the people that live here that prove that we can do it and that we are doing it. One brick by brick at a time of building a new foundation. We used to be the economic driver of Virginia, right. And a lot of people here in Richmond forget that, and I think Danny and I try to remind them of that every day. My dad was in the Navy, and so when we came back to Virginia from being all over the world and all over the United States, when I moved back to Northern Virginia, my dad was deployed at the Pentagon. The number one industry in 1978 in Northern Virginia, and you think of it as it is today, was dairy cow.
Dairy cow.
Dairy. We made some of the best milk in the world up there. Now that's been totally replaced. But at that time, in 1978, textile, tobacco, manufacturing were the economic drivers. We had the highest per capita income, lowest poverty rates, highest graduation rates. Now, Woody, what we're looking at is one of the highest poverty rates, some of the lowest graduation rates. These things have been monumental in the shift. And so it's incumbent upon Delegate Marshall and myself to make sure that we really work hard to change that current situation. And the people in Martinsville and Henry County are taking it upon themselves to make those changes. It does not happen in an instant. It happens in a generation. But we are confident by what we do here and what the people do here, that by creating these educational opportunities, that we're going to create a pipeline that creates students and new workers that are going to bring the industries in. Just by way of example, we've been in negotiation and discussions with the Newport News shipbuilding. Now, people would say, what can we do there? Well, they offer a computer credential program, basically a 3D credential program. That credential program, they can go and help and be in the new shipbuilding industries in Newport News, but you can take it anywhere. I mean, you don't have to work in there. And there are many vendors and suppliers of the Newport News shipbuilding that if we're creating a pipeline there in Martinsville of shipbuilding credentialed students, well then, quite frankly, they might be at the poverty level. They get a job maybe even at Newport News. They're above the poverty level. They've smashed poverty right there. But what we hope happens is that we create so many students that those vendors and suppliers start coming and locating in Martinsville and setting up shop and building the things that they do to support the shipbuilding industry, because they know that they have a bevy of workers there at their fingertips.
And of course,
let me add something. So last summer, last year about this time, I invited the chairman of the House Appropriations. House Appropriations is on the House side is the guy who's got the checkbook. So they make the budget and whatnot. So the chair of House Appropriations, Senator Stanley, and I met with them, and we invited them. They do tours of the Commonwealth in the fall and the spring, and we asked asked them to consider coming to Southside Virginia for their tour. And they did that this past summer. So they spent a half a day at NCI, and we showed them the building, we showed them what we was doing, we did presentations for them, and we wanted to make them aware of the situation we're in. No fault of our own. You know, we had, just like Senator Stanley was talking about, we had the highest percentage of manufacturing jobs. We were one of the wealthiest communities around in Martinsville, Henry County. No fault of our own. NAFTA came on board, kind of just changed the whole dynamics. So one of the things we heard from all the members on appropriations and also the appropriations staff, they were pleasantly surprised at all of the things that are happening to try to transform this community and turn it around. And so we have gotten some assurances from them that they are going to be an asset and an ally to us as we go forward. And we also signed a document, and I'll let Senator Stanley talk to you about that just a second, with JMU.
Oh, we signed a memorandum of understanding with James Madison University, bringing those programs we were talking about. It was monumental. I mean, it really is. We're bringing one of the top engineering programs and computer programs, computer science programs and cyber programs in the Commonwealth of Virginia, right there to the doorstep of Martinsville through New College of Virginia. And we're going to be able to offer our students, some of our students are probably just graduating from high school. Some of those students are probably in the 8th grade right now. But we're going to get them interested in the STEM disciplines, and when they're going to have an opportunity to get a 4-year engineering degree or cyber or computer technologies degree from James Madison University. And that is an opportunity that has never been there before, and we think it is a game changer in creating opportunities for people that weren't there. We're going to make sure, too, that college education is not the same cost as a traditional college education. And we're going to supply them with scholarships and grants and money so that really we will make college affordable, and they'll still get the same quality degree they could get if they left Martinsville. We want to keep them there. We want to educate them there and keep them there. So when they grow up and they have grandkids, that their parents are visiting them across the street, not across the state.
To what extent is agriculture and forestry important to the South Side and the state of Virginia?
Well, I'm not sure about Henry County, but I know in Pittsylvania County, the #1 industry in Pittsylvania County, and Pittsylvania County is the largest land mass in the state of Virginia. Ag business is #1, forestry is #2, and so it's still a major player. State of Virginia, the #1 industry is agriculture, the #2 is forestry. So it's still, and that surprises a lot of people that it's still, and it's not just a little ways ahead, it's quite a bit ahead. And so it's not only products that are grown in Pennsylvania County or the whole state to look at, that those products stay in the U.S. A lot of the products are so close to the port go abroad, and so that's a good thing. It brings that outside capital back into the Commonwealth or into our part of the state. So, we are looking to, on the committee that I chair, Agriculture, Chesapeake, and Natural Resources, we always want to make sure that we're going to be farm friendly. There are some bills out that are not farm friendly. The guy who moves into the subdivision that the farm is next door to it, and you get these certain smells that come over, and that the farm has been there for all along, so they don't quite understand that. So we want to make sure that the farm is it is a farm-friendly state. And Senator Stanley and I work with the Farm Bureau in our area, go listen to their needs and whatnot. So we want to make sure that we keep that tradition.
What opportunities exist under the AFID program?
Well, that was actually a bill that I put in many years ago. It was the Agriculture, Forestry, Industrial Development Fund. What it does is it partners up with local governments and private industry for processing too. So if we're making forestry products or agriculture products, let's say in Pittsylvania County or Henry County, we want to give that farmer the opportunity to have them processed there. And because that's going to mean more jobs, more revenue for the farmer, the costs will be lower. And it also creates local revenues for the government so that they can take care of their children in public schools and public safety. So we've seen a lot of great projects. In fact, the first project, after the bill was passed, Bob McDonnell, our former governor, a grant was given to Homestead Creamery in Rocky Mount in Franklin County to expand their processing. And now, Woody, Homestead Creamery used to be our great secret and some of the best milk, and they delivered. just like old times.
Great ice cream, too.
Right, great ice cream, great custard, eggnog. Well, now you can go in almost every grocery store and you can see it right there in the milk aisle, in the traditional bottles, and people just rave about it. And so that is how AFID can help expand business, because now they're statewide and even they're going into other states. So it's a really great program for us.
The opioid crisis, state of Virginia, nationwide. I don't know to what extent it's hitting your constituents. I'm sure it is, unfortunately. But talk to us about some legislation that you have dealing with that.
Well, Woody, just to give you the information, it was a study was done and demonstrated that in Martinsville, Henry County, we had the highest per milligram consumption of opioids in the nation.
The highest per milligram consumption of opioids in the nation.
This is affecting our families, their children, grandchildren. It's really a problem which we need to attack. And you know, when Danny and I talk about economic development, and Danny's out there wooing companies to come, that's a question that comes up. Well, how's your workforce? And so we don't want to have the reputation of that being a crisis in our area. So this summer I worked with our healthcare system, LifePoint. They have what's called SOVA Health. It's Danville and Martinsville's hospital system. And our community service boards that do most of the outpatient addiction treatment, whether it's court-ordered or by volunteer through Piedmont Community Services, to get together in a private-public partnership. And so I've created a bill which is a pilot program which will be operated in the Martinsville-Henry County area, where we're going to offer to people who are addicted to opioids, who are at or below the poverty level, who are in need but cannot afford it or may not have insurance, to be detoxified, to go through detoxification through the SOVA Health systems in the bricks and mortar hospital. While that's going on, they're going to be offering treatment so that we can do maintenance and prevent relapse in conjunction with the community service board and the hospital itself. So then an outpatient post-detoxification management plan is being developed by SOVA and the CSBs, and also bringing in a new component, which is telemedicine and telehealth. Dr. Karen Ruban from UVA, so that we can make sure that when they have been detoxified, when they're in the maintenance program and the recovery program, that they have a support system at all times, no matter what time of day, no matter what the cause or circumstance. That way we can give them the best chance of recovery. We're going to bring in some state money. SOVA is dedicating the bricks and mortar and their doctors and to that part, and then UVA is coming in with their innovative programs. What we're then going to do with this pilot program is take about 150 willing patients, allow us to track them, and see what's working and what doesn't work. And we're going to collaborate with other healthcare disciplines to make sure that we're really creating something that can work, not only just in Henry County and Martinsville, but once the pilot program's done, it's portable. We can take it to Culpeper, we can take it to Virginia Beach. Because, Woody, unfortunately with opioid addiction, there's only two ways to get out of it. You either get clean or you die. And we want to make sure we're giving every citizen an opportunity who is unfortunately suffering from this addiction the opportunity to live. When we do that, we're going to lower healthcare costs because they're not presenting critical or overdosing in our hospitals. We're going to create opportunities for them now. We've got a healthy workforce. And we're going to protect our children, and so that they can have healthy mothers and fathers, and that they're not subjected to the ill effects of opioid addiction.
What about the use of heroin? In some parts of the state, as doctors curtail their writing of prescriptions for pain medications, their former patients are buying heroin on the streets. Are you seeing anything like that?
You know, I haven't heard that from my, from the police chiefs and the sheriffs in the area. The opioid is the biggest problem in it, and it's not just one socioeconomic group. It's all across. You just saw, just the last week or so that Tom Petty, the rock and roll star, died from from opioids, and so certainly someone at that level could afford any doctor or any clinic that he wanted to go to, but unfortunately for us fans, we lost him, and so it strikes across everybody.
You had something else?
Well, and I proposed a bill. What a veterinarian came to me, and what they're seeing a lot of is people are taking their animals and hurting them, breaking their legs, so that they can go in where doctors, veterinarians can prescribe opioids for the animal, but are instead being consumed by the pet's owner. So what my bill now does is it transfers, post-operative opioids for when a dog goes through surgery can still be prescribed at the doctor's office. But what we're going to do is put them on the PMP, that is the registry program, so that we know that doctor shopping is not going on, that they're abusing opioids through veterinarians. And we're going to make sure that the prescriptions have to be filled at the pharmacy, where we can monitor them.
Henrietta Lacks.
Yes.
Talk to us about Henrietta Lacks.
Henrietta Lacks was an incredible African-American woman from Halifax, Virginia, who unfortunately at a very young age suffered from cancer and was serviced and treated in Johns Hopkins. The interesting part about that, unfortunately, she lost her life, was that the cancer cells replicated endlessly. And we've been able to gain a lot of information on the treatment of cancer and really understanding cancer. So what we're trying to do through the Economic Development Partnership in Halifax is to create a Henrietta Lacks Life Center. That is a cancer research center in honor of Henrietta Lacks. And Henrietta Lacks was an incredible African-American fighter warrior, and she deserves to have that kind of recognition, so we never forget who she was. If we can bring that health sciences center down to Halifax, then we can maybe be on the cutting edge, and that's going to even bring other medical industries and healthcare industries into our area. I've proposed a bill that will create a commission here made up of citizens and Henrietta Lacks' ancestors and family members who will then strategize, develop, and then execute on creating and building this life center. So I'm very excited about that bill. I think it's a great way to honor a great American.
I see you finally got your bill passed in the Senate that was a little bit of controversy.
It was unfortunate. We've had Patrick County Hospital, which closed due to mismanagement by the corporate, went into bankruptcy. I passed a bill that would just renew the license and allow us to keep it for a year so we could try to find a new owner. Democrats decided to play politics, threatened me and said they'd kill my very important bill for Patrick County unless I voted for Medicaid expansion. I said, I can't change my principles for you, and they killed my bill. So what did I do? I don't give up. I filed it again the next day, found a rule that would allow me to file the bill, got a new number on it, got it sent through Ed and Health the day after, and it was on the floor on Tuesday. And surprisingly, it passed unanimously. So I'm glad they had to change their heart and saw the error of their ways. Unfortunately, Woody, what I think it says sometimes is Northern Virginia Democrats don't care about us down here. And we don't want a handout. We just want a hand and we'll do the rest. But I'm telling you, Danny Marshall and myself, we will not stand for that kind of activity. They may not care about us, but we care a whole heck of a lot about ourselves. And we're going to do what's right. And we're going to stand up to that kind of bullying. We're going to stand up to that kind of regionalism because our future is now. Our future looks bright, and we're not going to let anybody get in our way.
It was really shameful to me that they put politics over people. I mean, this is not just people, this is people's lives. Because in cases in where the hospital is located, the hospital's closed, you got people who having to make 2-hour travel time. And if you're in the back of an ambulance, you don't have 2 hours, and sometimes so people could, it could actually cost people's lives, and the people will put it again. The Democrats in the Senate was putting politics above people's lives.
They want access to health care, but not at that hospital. I mean, that was hypocrisy.
Speaking of access, either one of you, last 30 seconds, I-73, is it still on the agenda?
It is on the agenda, and I'm meeting with the new Secretary of Transportation with the governor.
Shannon Valentine.
Shannon Valentine from Lynchburg. And we're going to make sure that we get the development fund passed, and we're also going to make sure that it's on the governor's radar. He's shown a lot of interest to start building I-73, at least to the line to the bypass.
Great. Well, thank you for being here, Danny
Thank you.
Marshall.
Thank you.
Bill Stanley. Good to see both of you chairmen.
Thank you, Woody.
Thank you for watching Cable Reports, brought to you by the Virginia Cable Telecommunications Association and Comcast. Until next time, I'm Woody Evans. Mm-hmm.